changing your life one story at a time. This is the Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast with Editor-in-Chief Amy Newmark.
Hey, it's Amy Newmark with your daily dose of Chicken Soup for the Soul inspiration to make you simply happy. It's Thoughtful Thursday, and today I want to talk to you about writing and getting published. We published a terrific book on this subject, Chicken Soup for the Soul, Inspiration for Writers, which is filled with useful advice that really works. Now, one of the subjects I get questions about all the time is, how do I get my book published? And my answer is almost always, you need to get an agent. Look at books that are similar to yours and read the acknowledgments to see who the author thanks. He or she always thanks a literary agent. That literary agent probably specializes in that genre and therefore would be a candidate to read your manuscript as well. I want to share with you how Beth Cato, one of our regular writers, did it. She has been published many times, but she had to start like anyone else by finding an agent. Beth says that she lost a lot of sleep worrying about the whole process of reaching out to literary agents. She could imagine the end result, the dream, a call from an agent saying, "I'd love to represent you in your book." But Beth's past efforts to get an agent hadn't gone well. She had already given up on 2 books that she had written. She felt like literary agents lived in grandeur at the top of some high tower far away in New York City. From their high vantage points on gilded thrones, she was as significant as an ant. And she understood that a single agent might receive thousands of queries a year, and out of that, choose only 2 or 3 new authors to represent. Well, I know some agents, and they really are just regular people, although it is true that they are deluged with manuscripts. But Beth had given up on those 2 previous books. But now she knew something. Her new novel was different. She had done this one right. She had cut it from 80,000 words to 20,000 words. She had completely rearranged the plot, and she had listened to all of the critiques that she got. She did the hard work that authors hate to do, giving up their favorite sections, rewriting parts they have labored over for weeks. I know, I've done it myself. There's nothing harder than deleting what you thought was your favorite chapter. So this time Beth knew that her work was better. But still, sending out those query letters to agents is painful. The letter itself needs to be perfect. You're trying to get an agent's attention with 1 sheet of paper. Beth spent weeks on her query letter. She knew it by heart. She could recite every word of it while she lay in bed at night, unable to sleep. Finally, she gave herself a deadline, and she started sending it out. And then the responses began. The rejections, the request for sample pages, and then a request to read part of the manuscript. That ended in another rejection, but Beth kept sending out those queries, and then finally there was another request for the full manuscript, and that second time, bingo, she got the call from an agent who was loving her book and wanted to finish it and then call her again. It turned out that agent did live in New York City, but not exactly in a gilded tower. She mentioned that she was so absorbed in reading the manuscript that she had missed her subway stop. I just checked Beth's website, and I saw 9 books she has published, plus a lot of other work published all over the place, including at least 14 stories that I've published in various Chicken Soup for the Soul books. Amy Zhang wrote a story for Chicken Soup for the Soul Inspiration for Writers on the same topic. She was only a teenager when she decided to write a novel and find an agent. Her parents were not that supportive of this. They thought it was a waste of time and she should concentrate on her academics and pursue a career in science or medicine or something more stable. Her dad was a nuclear physicist and her mom was an actuary, and they were immigrants from China, so they had certain expectations of her. But Amy loved to read and write, especially after her family moved to a new place where she felt isolated and didn't have much in common with the other kids. She escaped into writing. At age 15, against her parents' wishes, Amy started querying literary agents. She got some rejections, but she also got some requests to see her work. 3 months after she had started querying, she got a rather encouraging rejection. The agent read her partial manuscript and rejected it, but said she would be willing to look at it again if Amy revised it. Even though it meant cutting back on her studying and all her other school activities and disappointing her parents again, Amy rewrote her novel and sent it out. And one day, while sitting in her social studies class, she got an email that made her fall right out of her chair. She had an agent, and that agent got her published. Not that book, but the next one that she wrote. When I checked on Amazon, I saw that Amy Zong has had 2 very successful young adult novels published, and she's still only in college. Thanks for listening to the Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast today. I hope that gave you some motivation to put yourself out there and find an agent. Come back tomorrow for more on this subject and how to get paid for your writing in general. We're going to talk to Susan Maccarelli, who runs the very popular website Beyond Your Blog. She is a font of wisdom and inspiration for writers, and I know that many Chicken Soup for the Soul writers follow her advice, and clearly it works for them. And if you're feeling re-inspired and motivated to get to work on your writing, please read the book that today's stories came from, Chicken Soup for the Soul, Inspiration for Writers. It's a terrific book for new writers and seasoned writers, because we all need some motivation once in a while.